On May 29th, 2023, the highest recorded temperature in the United States was 101 degrees, the lowest was 26, and both of these came from the same state, Arizona. There's no place like it in the country, and that makes some people scared that if they moved here, they would hate it. I avoided moving here for 20 years, but then I decided to get over it and made the move anyway. And it turns out that Arizona was nothing like I'd imagined. Living with extreme temperatures and scorpions in a huge desert actually wasn't bad at all. But there are still some things about living here that I don't love. So today I'm gonna show you the 4 things I can't stand about the place. But more importantly, the 4 things that I love about Arizona that have made my life better. I'll also share the most important thing you should know if you're thinking about moving here. Now, if we're talking about important things to know, another is that Arizona is one of these. Lots of people will look at this and say,
why do you have a poster of a jumbled mess?
But if you know how to look at this thing just right, the hidden image of the dragon will pop out. See it? Right here in the middle. And Arizona is the exact same. If you've told anybody that you're thinking about moving here, a lot of them will probably say,
why do you want to do that?
Because when they look at Arizona, they see a jumbled mess that you'd be crazy to live in. But if you know what you're doing, you will see the hidden beauty inside of this chaotic looking state. Now, I know how to see the dragon, but just know that not everyone else will. And I'll do my best to show you, but there will always be comments from people who still can't see it. So one of the first things that someone will say who sees the jumbled mess is,
you're crazy if you move to Arizona, they're gonna run out of water.
Our water supply gets a lot of attention, and I did a deep dive on this in another video that I'll link down in the description. Water is one of the things that I don't love about this place, but it actually doesn't have anything to do with the amount that we have. So what's the issue? Well, imagine that you had a freezer full of Hungry Man dinners, and for every meal for the rest of your life, that's what you had to eat. Those things will keep you from starving, but that Salisbury steak and fake mashed potatoes is going to get old fast. It's also not the best for your long-term health. Arizona's water is the same way. We have plenty of it, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna enjoy it. We have some of the hardest water in the country, and frankly, it tastes awful coming out of the tap. Some people even say it's not healthy to drink it that way long term. The water can also wreck your home. The minerals will eventually damage your plumbing, and any appliances that use water will also wear out a lot faster. Now, before you start saying,
that place is starting to look like a jumbled mess,
it's important to know that there are 2 very easy fixes, and that'll make your water just as good as what you would buy at the store. The first one is to install a water softening system in your home. You can have one put in for about $700, and that will take all of the harsh minerals out. But that's only going to fix half the problem, because even though the water will be easier on your plumbing as well as your own hair and skin, it's still gonna taste terrible. That's where we need the second fix, which is to install a reverse osmosis system. This will usually sit underneath your kitchen sink, and it will have a dedicated spout where you can get water that's been purified just like the bottled water you buy at the store. Most homes will also have a plumbing line that runs over to your refrigerator for your ice maker and to have cool drinking water. One of these will run you about $500 installed, but I think it's something you absolutely need to have when you live here. Now, in the Phoenix and Tucson areas, a lot of our water's coming from underground, which is why we have so many minerals in it. That's also why we have enough water to take care of millions of people living in one of the hottest deserts in the country. Those aquifers will get recharged from the snowmelt coming down from the mountains in the northern part of the state, but we also can get a lot of rainfall in the summer when the monsoon season starts. These are intense storms that will roll through, and they'll bring a ton of wind, lightning, and rain. It's not uncommon to see flash flooding when a monsoon hits, but they also bring the second thing that I really don't like about living here. I'm a little conflicted on this one because I love watching the storms pass. The lightning is really cool to see, and the smell of the air from the rain is fantastic. But sometimes we'll get an event that makes the air dangerous to breathe. So when a monsoon is forming out in the distance, you'll sometimes notice something that looks like a tan cloud close to the ground. But as it starts to move in, you realize what that thing actually is. A giant wall of dust. These are called haboobs, and they're by far my least favorite part of the monsoon season. When one of these things rolls through, your pool will turn into a mud puddle, which is not fun to clean. Anything that's outside will be covered in dust, so you'll have to hose it off or get a leaf blower to push it into your neighbor's yard. Sorry about that. guys, if you're watching. But haboobs can also be pretty dangerous. Getting caught outside in one of these things means you'll be breathing in a ton of dust, which is unhealthy on its own. But here in Arizona, our soil also has spores from several types of fungi, and breathing that in can cause valley fever. This is a fungal infection in your lungs, and it can be really serious. If you stay indoors during a haboob, you will be fine. But what about if you get caught in one of these while you're driving? The cabin air filter on your vehicle should be enough to keep you safe from valley fever, but the danger here is how the other drivers will react to the dust storm. The Arizona Department of Transportation recommends that you exit the freeway if you can. But if that isn't possible, you should safely pull off the paved portion of the road, turn off all the lights in your vehicle, and take your foot off of the brake pedal so that cars don't mistake you for an exit, and then set your e-brake and wait for the storm to pass, which takes about 15 minutes. There will still be plenty of drivers trying to power through the dust storm, but following these steps will give you the best chance to avoid them. Even without a haboob, the roadways in Arizona can be a wild ride. And to show you what I mean, I actually put a hidden camera in the car of a typical Arizona driver. Hey honey. Hey, I'm on my way to get tickets for that M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie that's coming out, and I'm running a little late, but I think I'll be able to get there before they sell out. Yeah, okay. Hey, that guy cut me off! I'm gonna be 2.5 seconds late! If I don't get those tickets, I'm gonna miss the twist at the end! I can't miss the twist! If I miss the twist, I'm gonna twist your face! Ah! This is my least favorite thing about living in Arizona. I have no clue why, but we have some of the worst drivers in the country. No matter how fast you go, you're going to get tailgated by someone. And you'll also have to watch out for aggressive drivers who are weaving through traffic at 100 miles an hour. There's also a ton of road rage incidents here, so just be careful if you see some of these crazies out driving around. And I'm not sure why so many people are angry behind the wheel, because our traffic flows really well in the Phoenix area. For a city of around 5 million people, you will be amazed at how the cars move, even at rush hour. Now, I-10 can be a parking lot around the downtown area, and the 101 gets really busy too, but if you've stood still in traffic for hours around any of the other major cities in the US, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Something else that we didn't expect when we moved here was our extreme temperatures, but I'm not talking about the summer heat. One of the reasons I wanted to live here was because I was tired of winter. I really hate the cold, and I didn't want to see snow ever again. During our first winter here, I was shocked when I opened the windows and looked outside to see frost on the ground. Arizona may be famous for its heat, but we still get some really chilly nights in the winter, and you will want to hang on to a few of those winter clothing items if you're moving here. Now, if it were up to me, it would be shorts and flip-flops every day of the year, so I actually don't love it when it gets that cold. Maybe I'm still scarred from too many winters, but thankfully, we don't get many nights where we actually get frost, and I've never seen any snow make it all the way down to the valley floor. But even when it's cold, we still get the thing that I moved here to get more of. And this is a big draw for just about anyone relocating to Arizona. 3 states that send a lot of people here are Illinois, Washington, and Oregon. When you look at the major cities in those areas, you'll see Chicago averages 189 days of sunshine, Seattle gets 152, and Portland 144. Spending that much time under gloomy skies takes a toll on you. For me, I felt the effects of seasonal depression when I lived in Oregon, and the sunny skies of Arizona have been a great change. The Grand Canyon State is home to the sunniest city in America, which is Yuma, that averages 320 days. Phoenix isn't far behind at 300, and even Flagstaff, all the way up at 7,000 feet elevation, still gets 260. Seeing the sun almost every day has made my whole family happier, and it makes it so much easier to get out of the house and do something. But there's a lot more that I love about this place. What stands out for me is that Arizona is unique. We have landscapes that are some of the most incredible places on the planet. The one everyone will think of is the Grand Canyon, and if you've never been, that needs to change. The first time that you walk up to the viewing area, you'll be in awe of how big it is. And it's easy to see why it's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. But there's so much more to see beyond the canyon. To the south are the Red Rock Cliffs of Sedona, which is one of my favorite places to visit. The town sits at about 4,500 feet of elevation, so it's a great escape from the summer heat in Phoenix. And if you're an outdoor lover, Sedona is paradise. paradise. There's an endless amount of hiking spots, you can take a Jeep or an ATV around the rock formations, and there's also some of the best mountain bike trails in the country. One of my favorite things about Sedona is that it sits right at the start of the Colorado Plateau, which is where the desert landscape shifts to the pine tree forests in northern Arizona. It's pretty incredible that you can go from thick green forests to the Sonoran Desert around Phoenix and Tucson in just a couple hours of driving. I don't know of any other parts of the country where you can find something like that. Something else you'll find in the Sonoran Desert that you won't see anywhere else in the world is the saguaro cactus. They're really cool to look at. In the late spring months, they'll even get little flowers that bloom on them. But there's one other thing about Arizona that is shared by just one other state, and this has to be the most underrated benefit of living here. Part of the reason I hated winter was because it would get dark outside by about 4 p.m. It was always pretty depressing driving home from work in the dark. Then, when we'd spring forward later on, we'd get much longer days, but I always found the time change to be really disruptive. Thankfully, that is not an issue here. Arizona and Hawaii are the only two states who don't change time, and there isn't a single thing I miss about changing those clocks twice a year. We stay on standard time here, and in the winter months, the earliest that it will get dark is around 5 p.m. So we still get an extra hour of daylight compared to when I lived in the Northwest. Now, my kids still don't like it when it gets dark at 5 because they're usually out playing with friends, and that might be an image that's a lot different than what you had pictured about Arizona. Lots of people think this place is nothing but a bunch of retirees, and yes, the Grand Canyon State is a great place for that. But most of the people who live here actually tend to be younger. You'll see that when you're out in public with tons of young families with kids running around. One of the things that convinced us to move here was the huge amount of things to do for parents and their little ones. Arizona has some of the most incredible parks that I have ever seen. There's a million ways to get outside, and so many museums and kids attractions that it would take you years to visit all of them. We also know just about everyone who lives in our neighborhood, which is a huge change from where we used to live. The great thing about that is that everyone helps keep an eye on the neighborhood kids, so we don't all have to be glued to them the entire time that they're outside. And safety is something we never really have to worry about. On top of that, we were blown away by the amount of choice we have in our kids' education. Arizona has an open enrollment system, and that means you can choose to go to any school you'd like, even if you don't live in that district. The only catch is the school has to have room for extra students, but I have never heard of anyone being turned away because of that. There's also a lot of charter schools here that don't charge tuition, so if you're looking for a smaller school experience for your kids, it's really easy to find. Arizona being so kid-friendly really is one of the things I enjoy most about living here. But it's more than just families and retirees who are Arizona residents. You'll find lots of young professionals who are just getting started in the workforce. And if you're wondering about being able to get a job here, that will be one of the easiest parts. Arizona has a massive presence in the tech industry. That's only getting bigger. Intel has a plant located in Chandler, and the new TSMC semiconductor plant is getting closer to opening in North Phoenix. And other major companies are bringing jobs here every day. Dutch Bros announced that it plans to relocate 40% of its corporate headquarters from Oregon to Phoenix. Dexcom, which is a medical tech company in San Diego, is also moving over 500 jobs from California to Mesa. And that's not even mentioning the amount of companies who are looking for work in the trades and other skilled labor positions. Lots of the clients who I've worked with in the past were coming here due to a job relocation, and that doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. Arizona is an extremely business-friendly state, which is something else I love because it provides great opportunities for business owners like myself and anyone else in need of a good job. So what about the most important thing you need to know? Well, this is not going to be a surprise, but you need to be able to handle our heat in the summer. From early June through the middle of September, you're going to see temperatures above 100 degrees. So, what do we do when it gets so hot? Well, that's why you should watch this video right here, because that's where I attempted to spend 15 hours outside on a day that hit 117 degrees to show you how to make it through the summer heat.